Hey! Calvin Harris drops back, looking to give Western Dubuque the win. They do it! Touchdown! Touchdown! Arguably the greatest quarterback in WD history does it again! So, every once in a while when I need to stretch my legs out, I like to come down here to the catacombs of the TH building and, just throw the football around a little bit. Sometimes I have some coworkers with me. Sometimes it's nice to come down here by myself and, I know it's silly, but I like to pretend I'm some of the best prep football players in the area and just kind of throw the ball around a little bit. I know it's goofy, but, it's better than doing actual work or anything. I'm sorry, you cut that part out, right? Actually, I do work, so okay, you cut that part out. Davenport North, trying to tie the game. Logan Flanagan has seen you with the interception. A school record, 4 interceptions on the day. Yeah, I know it's goofy, but I also like to pretend that I'm a quarterback that's about to try to go for the game-winning drive in the Super Bowl. 2-4-2, set, hot! Steve Ortman drops back. A chance to win the Super Bowl. He's a mix of John Elway and Joe Montana. Here he goes for the win. Oh, he's sacked from behind. He's sacked and fumbled. It's over. Ortman blows it. You had a chance and you blew it, Ortman. Yeah, even when I'm pretending, somehow I still suck. Hello everyone, welcome to this week's edition of Telegraph Herald More Than the Score. I'm your host Steve Ortman. Alongside me this week, Tim O'Neill. Tim, did you miss me? We didn't have an episode last week.
Did not miss you a bit, Steve.
Thanks by the way, it was a very crazy week of scheduling. I was sick as a dog. Oh, sorry, forgot to cover my mouth. Anyway, but we're back this week and we got a couple of exciting football records to talk about that took place this past weekend and Friday night to be exact. And we're going to start with Calvin Harris. Now, believe it or not, this is a baseball player, by the way. This is a guy that's going to the University of Mississippi to play baseball. Football is not even his number one sport, as you might say, but man, he is breaking records at quarterback for the Bobcats.
Yes, Steve, he may be an outstanding baseball player, but he is one fantastic football player too. Last year, he set the season records for passing attempts, completions, yards, touchdowns, and he had a chance to take down 3 more career records as he came into the Week 2 game this week against Williamsburg, or last week, and he got it done pretty quickly. He threw a touchdown pass to Will Birds that broke Dylan Gatto's career record for touchdown passes. He later in the game passed Gatto's record for career completions and also passed Jay Lehman's record for career passing yards. Now at this point, the only career record that he doesn't have for WD is passing attempts. He's only about 90 or so away from that. Also last year, he twice tied the record for single game passing touchdowns. So he's putting up quite the numbers there. And then also in that game, place kicker Gabe Ulrich broke the career record for extra points made. So a bunch of records falling again for Western Dubuque, who this week moved up to number 1 in the Class 3A poll. They bumped past reigning state champion Cedar Rapids Xavier, which I believe has a 28-game win streak going right now. But Western Dubuque was just able to eke past them by about 3 points in the poll for that number 1 spot. They moved up from number 2. They'll be going on the road to face Decorah this week. It'll be a tough challenge for them.
All right, obviously Harris playing fantastic for the Bobcats, and not the only record to fall around the area here this past week. Dubuque senior safety comes up with 4 interceptions to set a program record.
Yeah, Logan Flanagan, big game for him for the Rams as they knock off Davenport North 28-15 at Dalzell Field. Like said, school record, fantastic. Brendan West was at that game, was able to catch up with Logan after the Rams win, and here's what Logan had to say about his record-breaking performance.
A lot of people just talking down our team, had to bring it back up and kind of set the tone for the season.
I know that coach really challenged the defense tonight. It seems like you really took that to heart. What were you, I guess, hoping to do? Were you hoping to get 4 or what?
I was just hoping. We worked on in practice, a lot of stuff to prevent this team from doing what they usually do, and we kind of just shut them out. I was never expecting closeness at all.
The Rams, with that win, improved to 1-1 overall. They're now receiving votes in the Class 4A Associated Press poll, so moving on up. They will host Cedar Rapids, Washington this week at Dalzell Field. Washington is going to be a little familiar with Dubuque. They got run all over by Dubuque Hempstead last week. It was a 47-14 victory for the Mustangs that evened their record at 1-1. Dubuque Wahlert lost to Davenport Assumption over at the Rock Bowl. So it's kind of what we got going on in the city, Steve.
Sure. Now looking at my side of things, another team making some noise in the poll there. Edgewood Colesburg, coming off that fantastic season last year, going to the state semifinals for the first time ever. They move up to number 2 in the Class A rankings. They're 2-0. They're running roughshod over their opponents. Big win over Starmont last week. Tough road win against Bellevue to open the season. So they're sitting at 2-0. Parker Rochford has come in, big player for this team. He was big for him last year. He's even bigger now. He's at quarterback, plays a little wide receiver, and the Vikings are moving along here at 2-0 and number 2 in the Class A rankings. So this Friday night for myself, I'm going to be covering Dyersville-Beckman. They're 1-1 this season, had a great start. Home win against LaPorte City Union. They went to Monticello for a rivalry game, came up short by a point in overtime. They'll be looking to bounce back here in week 3 at home against Clayton Ridge. So I'll have all the coverage of that game for you. And let's see. I think that's going to do it. Football. Good time to talk about football. Yeah, so that's going to do it for this week's episode. But be sure to catch all the upcoming episodes of Telegraph Herald More on the Score. Go ahead, like, and subscribe to our Telegraph Herald page on YouTube. And in case there's any, I know you're asking about this personally because I know you've really been worried about it, but just so everyone knows, it is 100% completely free to subscribe to us on YouTube. So just go ahead and subscribe and you'll be good to go. That's going to do it for this week's edition of Telegraph Herald More on the Score. I'm your host, Steve Ortman. For Tim O'Neill, we will see you next week.